Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Finding Help with Special Needs. I'm Lola Aneke, and I'm super excited that you're here with me today. If you're online with me, I need to see you that you're online. Please let me know you're online. Okay, let's see. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So we are live on Finding Help with Special Needs. I see we are live on YouTube. Are we live on Facebook, everyone? I sincerely apologize for the delay. I had a few technical glitches here and there. So we're live now, and I'm glad to begin. Okay, I need to be sure we are live on Facebook. If you're live on Facebook, please let me know. Okay, so I'm Lola Aneke, and I welcome you to Finding Out with Special Needs. And today we'll be talking about a very important topic. It's an important topic because we can't but continue to ensure that every child have access to education. So every child has a right to education. That's what the Child Right Act says. And then we also want to know that we want you all to know, which I know we all know that it's important that every child must be able to access a curriculum. So today I believe I'm talking to teachers, to parents. If you are a parent, please send me a message. Let me know who I will, because like I said last week, learning together. Okay, so I'm just trying to sort it out. My sincere apologies. Okay, so if you're live on Facebook, let me know you're live so that we can kick it off. Every week when I come up, thank you, Nyobong, Ashiri, Oziamaike, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're all here to learn. I'm going to be learning along with you. I'll be throwing out some points and then we'll dissect it and talk about it all together, okay? So today, again, the topic is access, point of entry to curriculum, okay? So what is the curriculum? We all know we are teachers. We all know for every school or for the educational system, we have a curriculum, okay? And that is what is expected of us to is academic content in a school, okay, for a specific course or program. So we have the curriculum for the primary education, the secondary, and the tertiary institutions. So today, because we always talk about children with special needs and inclusive education, and that's what brought this topic, and we'll all be talking about it. Like I said earlier, we're all learning together. Okay, so I see you all on Facebook. I see you on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Ozioma, Blessing, Gape, Miss Moses, Rita, Teaser, Joan Teaser. Everyone, you're welcome. So, like I said, welcome, Mr. Rotimi. Welcome, 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 everyone. So, like I said, today we'll be talking about point of entry, access, point of entry to curriculum. And I briefly just try to define what curriculum is. It refers to the lesson and academic content in a school. Nigeria, we have a general curriculum. We have the curriculum for the primary education, the secondary, and the university or the tertiary institutions, okay? And it's always specific to a course or the program. Now, what are the challenges of individuals with special needs? Today, we'll be looking at the various challenges of individuals with special needs, even as we think of including them in mainstream schools. Like I said in my little write-up about today's program, I said we'll be looking at the challenges that teachers are facing, and we'll look briefly at what parents, because I believe we have parents amongst us, we'll look briefly at what parents think of what we call inclusive education in Nigeria, or even the fact that our kids are living one form of special needs or one category of special needs or the other. How has it been? What has been your experience? Had it been a good one? If it's a good one, let's know your experience. If it's something that is not too good, let's know your experience so that we can put information out there. Remember, it is finding help with special needs. I could also say it's finding out with special needs education, whatever it has to do with the teacher, the parent, the stakeholders. We're here to talk about it. So, like the topic says, is the topic for today is access. That is the point of entry to, particularly with relation to children with special needs. Now, as teachers, I want us to, like I said, we'll be learning together. If you're a teacher with me this afternoon or this evening, please type comment. What are those things that you find challenging? If you're in a regular school or a mainstream school and you have children with special needs in your schools, what are the challenges you're experiencing? If your school says the practice, and it's not a way to pull down any school or to make anybody feel to point any fingers. Like I always say, this is not about pointing of fingers. It's about finding help when it comes to special and inclusive education. So we're talking about access, as an access point of entry to curriculum. How do we ensure that children with special needs have access to the curriculum? What are those challenges you're having? While I wait for you all to type in your challenges, I would want to, I'm trying to look at some of your input. So send me input as a regular teacher, as a general education teacher, as a special education teacher. What are the challenges you experience? But while I wait for your comments, I'll put out, because I usually do a lot of research. I ask questions, and then I also dig deep. I've been to several states in Nigeria to train teachers on special and inclusive education. I'll be sharing some of the answers I've gotten from teachers when it comes to them providing the access to the curriculum for children with special needs. The first challenge that I've gotten, the response I've gotten when it comes to challenge, is that most times the issue of the preparation of the individualized education plan is always a challenge. They talk about issue of having parents to be a part of it. The area of collaboration. So the first challenge is collaboration between teachers, parents, and other stakeholders in preparing the individualized education plan for the child. So if that's the same challenge you also have, let us know. And the whole idea of today's program is to identify these challenges and figure out ways together on how to overcome these challenges. So do you also have the issue of planning for the individualized education plan for the child? Do you have issues with collaboration on what to agree upon when it comes to what the child can do and what the child cannot do, or when it comes to issue of accommodation and modification? Now, I'll be talking a lot about some technical terms now. Because we do not have enough time, I might not be able to go deeply into some of these terms, like things, words like accommodation, modification, and other terms I'll be talking about. But please, I would like to invite you. We have a special education and inclusive education support group. The Cadet Academy has got, we have that. We have 2 trainings every week to help you improve on strategies, on issues that relate with special and inclusive education, strategies on teaching children special needs. We talk about different topics that will help you. So if you're a teacher, if you're a general teacher, if you are a special education teacher, you should be in this group. If you're a parent, you should be in this group. We'll drop the link right now. There's also another group that talks about dyslexia a lot. This week we talk about dyslexia. You need to learn, because these are some of the challenges we find in our classrooms as general teacher, as special needs teacher. And we realize that our colleges of education, and these are some of the challenges also, our colleges of education do not teach our teachers so when you go to college of education or our teacher training colleges, most times you do not have experiences on how to put children with special needs. There's always a department for special needs, but we don't have the general ed teacher, the teaching department talking about the special needs itself, special education. So the challenges that you have when you come in, it might be tough for you to be able to identify a child with special when you come into the educational sphere, or you come into a school to teach as a school classroom teacher. You might have challenges of, how do I identify this child with special needs? What is an IEP? Some of these things are not taught in our teacher training colleges. And then because of what it is in Nigeria, we have a lot of individuals, graduates, who did not study education or even special education. And then we find them in our classrooms, we find them in schools teaching. So it's a tough one. They might have ideas, they might even do well in some core subjects like mathematics or English in university. And some of them even study mathematics, some of them study English. But the art of teaching itself, particularly children with special needs, they may not have the quality or to be able to provide educational support for these children. So if you are in that category, you need to join the group. So the link to those groups will be shared on the comments segment. Please do yourself a favor. I mean, all of us, for us, I say to people, for you to be called a teacher, it's a calling. Teaching is not like, oh, we didn't find a job, then we should just find ourselves go into schools and look for schools that are looking for teachers, and then you come in. Even if you came in that way, you cannot remain the same. You should not remain the same. If you understand the fact that every child can learn, every child must learn, and every child should learn, then you should equip yourself. Professional development is important. So join the link, click on the links that will be displayed on the comments segment, so that you can join the support group where we have trainings for free for teachers, for general education teachers, for parents, and for special education teachers, so that you can have continuous professional development. So one of the challenges, like I said, is one, inadequate collaboration or lack of collaboration between teachers, parents, and other stakeholders when it comes to the preparation of the individualized education plan for the children. If you have the same issue, please let us know. Let us know so that we can talk about what to do. The second challenge is the support from the school leaders and heads and owners. So teachers have said to us, we are an inclusive school. We are a mainstream school, and we have children with special needs in our school, but we usually don't have enough support from our teacher, our school leaders, our school heads, the school owners, simply because we have to cover a particular syllabus or curriculum within 12 weeks or whatever the weeks are. And then all of those terms you're talking about, accommodation, modification, we are not able to put that into place when it comes to children with disabilities. So if you're having the same challenge, please throw it out there. We're going to sort it out together today. So we're going to throw out the challenges, and then we'll look for ways. So we're talking about the challenges right now. So the third challenge is the ability to the strategies for differentiation in our classrooms. Okay, now let me quickly define what differentiation is. Differentiation is the adjustment of the process of teaching. Okay, so as a teacher, you need to adjust the way you teach. Okay, that's what differentiation is. And if you are an inclusive school, or you are a general education and you have a child with a form of disability or special needs in your classroom, and you're not differentiating, that is not inclusive education. Remember, not every child learns the same way. Okay, not every child, even the children without special needs, they do not learn the same way. So when you're talking about children with special needs, you must learn, you must be proficient in finding ways to be able to adjust the curriculum. So like I said, differentiation. So some of the challenges that they do not know, a lot of teachers do not know how to differentiate for the student, particularly children with special needs in their classroom. And I defined what differentiation is. It is the adjustment of the process of teaching according to the need of the pupils in your classroom. Okay, that is what differentiation is. How do you adjust your content? How do you adjust the process that you teach? Your content is how do you adjust the curriculum? How do you adjust what you're meant to teach for that day? How do you adjust the process, how you teach it? And then how do you adjust the product? How do the children tell you this is what my understanding of what you've taught today? Okay. Now, another challenge is when it comes to differentiation is also the how you can adjust your classroom to suit children in your classroom, children with special needs or without special needs. Some children learn better sitting down in a particular maybe on a couch as opposed to sitting down on a chair and a table. Some children learn better in a bean-shaped table. Some children learn better when they're facing a particular side of the classroom. All of those things, classroom arrangement is very important when you think of differentiation also. Okay, also another way you can look up the way to differentiate access to the curriculum for the children is also behavior management. How do you manage your classroom? How do you manage your classroom? Some of these things I won't be able to speak about in depth on this 1 hour or 30 minutes or 40-minute segments. But you need to do yourself a favor. You need to come up. If you're saying inclusive education, we're saying we need to help every child to learn. Then we must be big on all of this, all of these topics. I'm talking about differentiation, accommodation, modification. By joining the group, I already put out the link right now. By joining this group, you can get more knowledge so that you can ensure that every child has access to the curriculum. Now, another challenge that we've also experienced, that I've had people say to me, is additional resources for these children. We don't know how to create some of these resources. We have not been trained on how, which is of course teachers training, on how to provide the resources we need. What does a child with autism need in our classroom? What does a child with learning disability need in a classroom? What does a child with visual impairment need in my classroom? What does a child with hearing impairment need in my classroom? What sort of technological device will the child be needing in my classroom? These are some of the challenges. Like I said, we'll talk about it and then we'll go back into all of us. I see you, classroom, like I see some of your comments already, but then we need to talk about the way forward. We're not just going to throw the challenges out there. We'll be talking about the way forward also, okay? So let's quickly, the next, I think I mentioned about 5 challenges right now. The next challenge is set of information, okay, regarding the special needs. So a lot of people do not even know the kind of special needs category we have. You know, in Nigeria, I've talked about there was a particular episode of Finding Out with Special Needs that I talked about the challenges that the various categories of disability or special needs that we have in the classroom or in our schools. And I'll try and recap all of this, but then, like I said, we can't do a lot on this particular segment. You might want to join the training, the Telegram training group, and also the WhatsApp training group to learn more about different kind of disability. But I said that briefly just now. We have visually impaired, we have children with hearing impaired, we have hearing impairment, we have children with learning disability, and that's where dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia come in. We have children with autism, we have children with emotional disturbances, we have children with traumatic brain injury, we have children with orthopedic impairment, we have children with other health impairments, which include children with sickle cell. And in Nigeria, we have out of internally displaced children or children who are out of school. So that's one of the challenges that teachers experience when it comes to point of entry to the curriculum for children with disability. Okay, not enough information on how to provide support for these children, not enough information on the various categories of disabilities, because once you know the categories of disability, you can also know the various kind of challenges these children are going through, and then you can identify the challenges, and that will also help you to modify your curriculum to suit the need of the learners or the child. Another challenge is assessment. We don't know how to assess the children, even when we modify, when we provide accommodation. We don't have enough information as to how to provide assessment for these children. We don't know how to measure the progress, and that's a very huge one, because it's not enough for us to say this child is in this classroom. Remember, that's the purpose of the individualized education plan. We talk about the child's strengths, weaknesses, present level of educational performance, the kind of accommodation and modification that will be available for this child, and this same points that you've highlighted in the IEP is what you carry over to the assessment for the child. Even the IEP is supposed to say the way the assessment will go for the child, how you will create the child, the baseline, and all of that. So these are some of the challenges. Another challenge that I found is the ways to provide. How do we provide services? So some people will say, "Oh, it's not the it's not the general education that's supposed to provide services for educational support for these children." No, it's supposed to be a teaching assistant, or where do we draw the line as to how do we even bring about that in the classroom? I'm the classroom teacher. I understand the place of a special needs educator or an assistant that will help me in my classroom, the ratio that we have, or I have 3 children with special needs in my classroom, and we only have 1 person to support the child. How do we provide support for the child? How do we know what type of collaboration will take place when we're doing that? Would it be a co-teaching kind of collaboration or a cooperative collaboration? These are some of the challenges that go on, and that teachers have said to me that they experience when it comes to issue of inclusive, providing access to the curriculum for children with special needs. I don't know if you have all of that together. Yeah, I see that we have a lot of comments out there. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. I want to hear from us before I go into, are there other things I've missed? Okay, so we talk about inadequate or lack of collaboration between parents and teachers in creating the individualized education plan, lack of support from the school leaders. You know, we said that the issue of differentiation. We talk about the issue of how to adapt our classroom to fit the needs of children with special needs in our classroom. The use of additional resources. How do we don't even know how to use it. We don't know how to create it. Lack of training on how to go about providing access to the curriculum for children with special needs, and then how to assess the children to know their progress, and how to provide collaborative support between the special education teacher or the therapist or the support person for the child. Okay, so these are some of the challenges that we'll be able to highlight. So what ways can we go about providing to ensure that this is not a barrier to the children? Because I tell you, most times when these things happen, what usually happens is the case of 2 elephant fights and the grass suffers. So when we have issues like this, the parents are not together with the teacher, the school owner or the school leader is not in support of what the classroom teacher is doing or what the special education teacher is doing. We find out that the children are the ones at the receiving end. They don't get what they need. They just come into the school to mark register, like you say in Nigeria, present, but they're not getting value. They do not have access to the curriculum. I was going to also mention when it comes to differentiation, that as classroom teachers, okay, so let me not even go to the solutions yet. What can we, let me not go, I'm already jumping the gun. What can we do? Let's pick up the issue of support from school ed and school owners and school leaders. You know, a particular teacher said to me, it was at the big conference, I think it was at the GTBAC conference last year. She asked the question, I have a heart for children with special needs. I've not been trained, you know, but the teachers, they keep, because I have a heart for these children, they send all the children with special needs into my classroom. And another thing that they do is that I work with children in primary 2, and most of these children are 7-year-old, and then they bring a child who's 10-year-old into my classroom. Won't it affect this child? You know, it's 10 years, why would it be in a classroom of a 7-year-old? And I was told that we have to work based on the ability of the child. So he may be 10, but if it's functioning on a 7-year-old level, it should be in a 7-year-old classroom. That is not right. That is not, because psychologically it's going to affect the child. So remember what I said differentiation is, okay? We said differentiation is the adjustment of the process of teaching according to the learning need of the pupil. Learning need doesn't mean the age of the child. The need of the child differs from the age. So if a child is 10-year-old, put that child in a 10-year-old class, but differentiate in such a way that he'll be able to learn based on level of functioning, okay? It's according to the level and the need of the child. That's what differentiation is about, okay? It's not about putting a 10-year-old in a 7-year-old class, or a child who's meant to be in primary 6, or because the child is even with special needs, you now put him down to a class of children in primary 1. No, that is not what differentiation is. And this is about the solution we're thinking of, okay? Put that child in an age-appropriate class, then begin to modify, begin to provide accommodation, differentiation, you know. Remember, there's something, I don't know if you all know about Bloom's taxonomy, and if you all know about Ghana's multiple intelligence, how the children learn. What do they need to succeed? If a 10-year-old is in a 10-year-old classroom, particularly children with autism, or even children with learning disability, because sometimes they might be a little behind. It doesn't mean that you should put them in a class that is lower, okay? So school owners, please, let's understand and provide support for our teachers. I believe we have school owners, and I believe some school owners are going to watch this video because this is a topic that concerns every school owner, every school leader, every school head, every classroom teacher. We need to be able to provide support for our classroom teachers. Most times, these classroom teachers have a good heart to want to train or to educate these children with special needs, but they're not getting enough support from school leaders. They're not getting enough support from the school owners, you know. Sometimes they also say, oh, we have so much to teach. So if I think of differentiation, if I think of having to give this child extended time, if I'm thinking of other children will suffer, we need to consider the ratio of students that we have in our classroom. You can go as little as saying, okay, I can only have, because we have 10 students in this classroom, for every 10 students, we can only take one child with special needs in this classroom, so that you can also provide enough support for that classroom teacher, because it's going to be a lot for that classroom teacher in providing differentiation, classroom arrangement, and all of that, okay? What is the ratio of teacher to students when it comes to you enrolling children with special needs in your school, as a school owner, as a school leader, as a school admin? What are the strategies you put in place? What are the systems you put in place to ensure that the teacher feels supported by you in our practice of inclusive education, particularly in ensuring that children with special needs have access to the curriculum? So let's think of this way, these questions, and come up with practical solutions so that we can indeed say, yes, of a truth, we are educating children with special needs alongside their neurotypical mates. We also talked about the issue of the IEP. You know, a lot of times I see IEPs and it's just goals that we just put there. This child will do this child will do that, this child will do this. But IEP is more holistic. I won't be able to cover the whole, everything about IEP. Some of our trainings on the WhatsApp group, on the Telegram groups will cover what IEP is and all of that, and how to provide it. But if there's anything you need to know, is that you have to know the child's present level of performance, okay? You have to know the baseline. Where is this child to? Of course, at the present level of performance, you want to know the kind of accommodation, the kind of modification that will be provided. What are the support the child will be needing? What kind of support the child be needing for when it comes to assessment? And whatever you do, you decide, you must follow it through. That's what guide the child's progress in your school, in your classroom. So you must follow it. If you say the child will learn this, the child will do this, that's exactly what the child will do. You don't just wake up and change it. And of course, you have to work together with the parents. We see a lot of schools, from what from my research, a lot of schools just provide the IEP for the parent and say this is what your child is going to work with. No, you need to come together with the parents, understand who the child is, the child's strength, and then you come up together to decide what the IEP would be, the child's strength, the goals, the weaknesses, what you do to help ensure that the weaknesses are being built on. You build on the child's strength also. You know, what are the forms of accommodation you provide? What are the kind of differentiation and all of that you provide for the child? It has to be stated in the individualized education plan, and that's why everybody has to come together to be able to put that together. Okay, that's the solution to that. So parents, please, when you are called upon for your child's individualized education plan meetings, please make yourself available. When you do, you're doing that child a lot of favor. And as teachers, you know, there was one of the episodes that I spoke about being consulting for a particular teacher parent, and then we're talking about the child. It was an IEP review, and then the therapist was there, the school head was there, the parent was at the meeting, but the classroom teacher was not there. And I was told that she doesn't have to be there because she has other children she's working with. It's the job of the therapist. That's way the child might not have an holistic access to the curriculum, because all of us being there, knowing what is expected, knowing how we'll differentiate, how we'll modify, how we'll provide support and the child's strength and all of that, the child's present level of academic performance and all of that will help us to come up with a particular way forward for that child. And it's more holistic, it's more realistic if everybody come together and then we do that for the child. Of course, our classroom arrangements. There are several ways you can arrange your classroom to ensure that every child benefits from the curriculum and have access to the curriculum. you have different classroom arrangements. Like I said, you can have your classroom arranged in such a way that the theater way of learning, which most times does not work for some children, you can have them pair themselves, you can have them sit down facing the classroom in a certain way. Some of the trainings we're putting out very soon on the Telegram group will be telling you we'll be talking about different classroom arrangements so that we can find ways to provide access to the curriculum for children with special needs, your classroom arrangement, behavior management. The training for Tuesday on the Telegram group is talking about possible behavior, PBIS, possible behavior intervention strategy. That's one training you don't want to miss. So you can see ways to provide to manage your classroom appropriately. We'll talk about some of those issues when we're talking about the PBIS training on Tuesday. That way you keep yourself, because we can't keep waiting for the government to do something. If you find a place where you can get professional development, and that's another area that was a challenge. Teachers are saying we don't get enough trainings, we don't get enough support, so we don't even know how to provide help for these children. So your classroom management, the management plan in your classroom does a lot of good to you, okay? Would also help you in providing support. Please ignore my children. They're having lots of fun, so the noise is a lot this afternoon. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, I'm even distracted too, so I'm really sorry about that. Kids will always be kids. So we need to find out how to manage, because there are research and evidence-based practices that we'll be teaching in this Telegram group, so that we can ensure that children with special needs have access to the curriculum and have it appropriately. So we need to avail yourself that opportunity and come learn with us. We also talk about assessment. How do you measure progress? There are several ways we can do. You can even use the RTI, response to intervention, to do that. It's a simple way. Measure when the child enters your classroom. When I say enter your classroom, when the access point to your classroom, what can this child do? And that's what the IEP will also explain, to say, after maybe in 2 weeks' time, this child should be able to do this. Then you go back after 2 weeks, can the child do it? That's why the IEP is important. How do you measure progress? How do you assess the child? What are the things you're going to use to assess the child, to say, okay, child A would be to identify letter sound association of all the vowels in 3 weeks. How do you measure progress? Your IEP is supposed to say, probably, for example, when during reading during the literacy class, it will assess him by him showing us the sound and the letter, or showing us, you have to be able to put all of those things down in your IEP, such that when you are assessing, when you say, okay, after 3 weeks, we want to check, how did we're going to check if this child can tell us the sound for all the vowels and the letters for all the vowels. These are some of the things. That's why an IEP is not just a goal. It's a statement that says how you're going to ensure that this child moves from one place to the other, with accommodation, with modification, with present level of performance, and all of that. So that's why it's important for us to take some of those things very seriously. And that's the only way we can provide access to ensure that these children get access. One of the ways we can ensure that these children get access to the curriculum. For me, I always believe in what is worth doing at all is worth doing well. So why would I say I'm an inclusive education teacher? Why would I say we are able to accommodate children with special needs in our classroom, when we are not putting things in place to ensure that these children have access to the curriculum? This topic is quite wide. We can never cover it today. Some of the things that we will take it to the next level, probably at the Telegram group and even the WhatsApp group, particularly the one for dyslexia. But if we want to do something, let's do it, and let's do it well. While we are waiting for the government to understand what the government wants to do with a issue of implementation and all of that, what are we doing as classroom teachers, as people who have been called to children? What are we doing to ensure that we make a difference in the lives of these children? And some of the things that we've already highlighted as the challenges. But beyond the challenges, what am I as an individual what sacrifices am I willing to make to ensure that children with special needs in my classroom get access to the curriculum? We've mentioned quite all of the challenges, and we've also been able to ensure some of the ways that we can help and ensure that these children get access to the curriculum. So I don't know if I'm missing any points. I think I've mentioned all of that. Before we go to the next segment, I would like to hear from us. Is there anything we've not touched for now? I think we might have to extend this particular episode. We might have to talk about it next time. But we've spent about 30 minutes talking about this. Okay. Yes. Thank you. The plan must be. She said that Ms. Amy said the plan must be workable. Okay. It must be a functional and practicable plan. Okay, I like that. Let's see what this is. I need to hear from you. Remember, I said that it's not just always about me talking. We're all learning together. We are all trying to see in our own little ways how we can ensure that every child is included in our classroom appropriately, particularly children with special needs, in our bid to ensure that inclusive education thrives in our nation, in our classroom. We have a part to play. Okay. 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 I think I like this comment. Let me see if I can put it out there. So Empress says, I have faced that severally. When the regular or okay, maybe when that teacher choose. Okay, I don't. When the regular or should I say, class teachers say the boy likes coming to my class more, and in my class he doesn't do much work. Blah blah blah. So the head of the school should deduct 2 hours from the 3 hours I spent with him. Meanwhile, I come only twice a week. But she says, any day I'm coming, he will always stand at the window till I come. So she felt I am stealing her love. This happened to me. Yeah, well, I mean, we have a lot of issues. Like I said, let's look for ways to ensure that these children are fully included in our classroom. Okay, let me see what this. Yes, inadequate information. Please, if there's anything that I've not covered, I need us to talk about it quickly before we bring in our guest for today. Is there anything that I missed out? Let me see. IEP. Okay, let's look at what this Komalafe, which read IEP should be an opportunity for parents and educators to work together in order to identify the need of the student requirement that will be provided to meet the need and anticipated outcome. Fantastic. That's what an IEP should be. And there should be no reason why you should not assess that child, because the IEP covers everything that the child should be doing in your school, because you practice inclusive education. Yeah, there should be collaboration between the teacher, the parent, the school owner. Everyone will work together to ensure that the IEP is being put together. Let me see what we have on YouTube quickly. Okay, class teacher must relate. Let me see that quickly. Mike Ike says classroom teacher must relate with the challenges of the children to the must relate the challenge of the children to the parents and the school authorities in order to have a workable plan for them. We have to work together. That's what an IEP is. We must sit down with the parents, and that the parent needs to educate themselves. Knowledge says power. Join the Telegram group. Join the WhatsApp. It's not just for teachers alone. It's not for parents alone. It's for everyone, so that if we say we want to practice inclusive education, what knowledge you have, what are you bringing to the table to ensure that inclusive education is thrives in our schools? What are you doing to ensure that your child get access to the curriculum? Okay, as a parent, so I want to encourage parents. I'm think a lot of parents are on the group, or we need more parents on the group, so that when you go for IEP meetings, you can have strong points to lay down and say, this is who my child is. My child is a kinesthetic learner. According to, when you say those things, you say, okay, she knows what she's talking about. And then you can lay up your case and then find a way to include it in the child's IEP. Okay. Let me see if I have not missed any points. Okay. Yeah. Any other point? It's not just a goal. The IEP is not just a goal. It's holistic. I will do a training on that very soon. In our group. Okay. One of the groups. Yeah. Differentiation, the adjustment of the process, very good. Collaboration is important, even among teachers. One of the challenges that I heard the teacher saying to me that some of the teachers, they know how to work with these children, but they're not willing to share information. They're not willing to collaborate with us so that we can also provide support for the children in our classroom. So let's learn to collaborate with, and I will also do a training on collaboration. Several topics will be coming up so that we can get practical knowledge on how to ensure that every child has access to curriculum and also to ensure that every child is included in the learning in our schools and our classroom. Okay. Any comment? I'm trying to scroll up and down. I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Mr. Rutumi. Thank you, Miss Eminimo. Thank you, Mr. Manji, Miss Phil. Thank you, Miss Blessing. Thank you, Thank you, Miss Empress. Thank you, what did I see? Lola. Thank you, Miss Gwen. Thank you, Komolafe, Victoria. Thank you, Rosalind, all the way from Ghana. Thank you for joining in. I know. Thank you, Gerangie. Thank you for joining in. I know we have a common challenge when it comes to inclusive education in Africa, and we are here to support one another. So thank you all for joining in. I'm sure our guest is ready for us. Okay, because I'm trying to see the other comments. Let me quickly look at what YouTube is saying if I'm missing anything. Okay, I've heard parents complain that teachers don't tell them their kids' challenges. I think awareness and training should be done to the regular classroom teachers. So teachers, it's a collaborative thing. Yes, we are the professionals, but there's room for collaboration. And we're going to do a training on collaboration very soon on the Telegram group. So we understand that as teachers, we are not the almighty. We don't know it all. We all learn and share information, because I always say to, in my organization that parents are very important. See, if a parent is, if we need to carry one another along. Collaboration with parents helps us to see a lot of difference in our children. Most of the children that have done well at our centers are those children who their parents always ask questions. Not that they're not trying to be pests. They know what they want because they've been equipped. They're on our training platform. They know what they want, and they ask questions. You know, there's something also called effective communication and essential communication. Some communication are essential, but how do you communicate it effectively? Some of the trainings will be taken also on our Telegram group also, so that we are able to work collectively and for the good of the child and not for anything else. The reason we are teachers is to make difference in the lives of the children. The reason we are parents is also to ensure that our children get the best, also to make difference. So we have to work together, okay? So classroom teachers, let's learn to work together with our parents. Parents have enough information so that we can speak on the same level when it comes to providing support for our children, okay? I think those are some of the comments, yeah, I can see here, even on Telegram. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your input, okay? So we should move according to the child pace and provide the necessary support. It's not about putting the child in a class that will make him less of himself. And it's not about inclusive education or access to the curriculum. It's not about giving the child something to get busy with. You must put everything you're going to do with that child in your individualized education plan, you know, as an inclusive school, as a school that is practical, as a mainstream school. That IEP, when the parents come to you and say, I want to bring my child to your school, I understand your school is an exclusive school. The first thing is for you to sit down, check back and forth. What are the things you're going to be doing to the child? Write it down as simple as possible. And then let it be a way of you checking. Are we on track? Are we on track? Are we on track? Are we on track? I like this statement from what's that? Hold on, I can't even see that again. So we need to also take individualized education plan very seriously. We can't just wake up and say, okay, the child is going to come to our school. No, what are the things you put in place and how do you check progress? Okay, so I'll quickly go to the other segment where we'll have our guests come in, and I hope everything is fine. Let me add right now. Hello, Miss Pamela. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. This is interesting. We just had a very important discussion at the first segment. And I'm super excited to have you here because I've known you, I've watched you grow when it comes to inclusive education and special education. So I think this topic particularly, I think I'm echoing, so I'm going to have to put up mine. So I'm also is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I can get it. 1 minute. Let me just get it up to date. So I need you to just introduce yourself to us before we now hear from you. Please introduce yourself to us.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Miss Pamela Augustine, but let's just leave it at Miss Pam. I'm a certified special needs teacher, and I've been doing this for 7, 8 years. And well, that's me. Thank you, Miss Lola, for having me.
You are too humble for my liking. You're too humble for my liking. But for everyone watching right now, please go and read her resume. Go and read her. You know when I write it, it's too much echo. Can you hear please, I need feedback from us. I can hear myself. It's echoing. So I need to know what to do. Let me try and use my earpiece. Is it echoing at your end? I need feedback.
Not much.
Really? I don't know why there's so much echo today. Miss Pam, do you want to use your earpiece to maybe to help? I'm not sure. If that will help.
Okay, let's try. Let's try.
Okay. So okay, I see it's echoing here too. How is it right now? Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, fantastic. So for everyone watching us, please let's know the feedback so we can enjoy this segment. I think we will go beyond an hour today because of the technical issues we're having. But I think it's a lot better now. So Miss Pamela, for everyone that would like to meet Miss Pamela beyond, I've been very, reserved today about who she is. Go back and go to my Instagram page and read about who she is. She's done quite a lot of work. And the reason for this segment is that I want us to know that it's possible to be in the field of special education and still thrive. Special education, children with special needs, parents of children with special needs, all about sad stories. It's a life. It's a life that you can actually turn around, so to say. So this is our success segment of what special needs. We talk about all our challenges in the first segment, but now we want to bring in real people, real issues, and how they've been able to overcome some of these challenges and what works and does not work for them. So, Miss Pamela, welcome
Thank
to
you.
the show. The first question I'd like to ask you is, why did you choose? What was your first degree? One, two. What prompted you to want to study special needs education? And why special needs education? Why not? Because I know I had known you for quite a while, and I'm thinking, oh, she could have done this with what she has. She could have done that. Why? And for so long, you've stayed on course. You've stayed on track. For me, that is deep. That is purpose. So why did you choose special education after your first degree? And how has the journey been?
Okay. I studied mass communication, and obviously, for mass communication, I should be on TV or writing newspapers or something, but not teaching, definitely. But then after university, I served in a school. And then afterwards, I worked in a school. And it was just school, 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 school. But at that point, I still didn't know where I was heading. Before I met my mama, Miss Lola Aneke, and she now introduced me to special education. And I realized that we're very few in Nigeria that we're trying to make a difference. And we have lots of children with special needs, even adults from my experience. And I said to myself, why not join and then make a change in the lives of all these children? They are geniuses. They have spectacular talent. And then I just said, let me join and then make a difference, one child at a time. Now, why not something else? I mean, special education is fulfilling. It's very, very fulfilling. The fact that I teach and I come back home, I smile. I'm like, yes, I've done something, I've been able to make a difference. I remember like the first child I started working with, she couldn't say anything, she couldn't make any reasonable sentence, she could not even identify some words. And then she started picking up, she started picking up, she started picking up. For me, that was just the ultimate. I have my hard times. I have times when I'll go back and cry, or I've even told Miss Lola sometimes that I will not do this thing again. I'm tired. I'm not going to do it. But then when I see the results, it now makes me know that I'm doing something worthy of doing. So that's what has been my drive and has been pushing me.
Okay, let's get something quickly because on finding out with special needs, we like to break things down. We like to be real. We don't want people assuming that, oh, they're sugarcoating stuff for us, or it's that, we want to make it as practical as possible and as real as possible. Now, you said you joined. What were the things, were you equipped? Because some of the challenges we talked about earlier on is that teachers are saying we have a heart. I found myself in the classroom when I said and all that. I have a heart, but I don't know what to do. Can you please tell us some of the things you did? So that people watching who might find themselves in your position that makes you qualify to be a teacher of children with special needs, that qualifies you. I know you've done several trainings, but I need you to tell us because the reason for this particular segment is to give those that might be in your shoes. So it keep younger generation who are thinking there's no hope for children with special needs. To let school people out there who can be trained and then they can come into the field of special needs and inclusive education. So what was it that helped you to stay in the last 7 years from when you moved from from mass comm and then you went to serve in NYC and then you found yourself in a teaching space? Was that all that we were doing? And how did you get any training? If you did, what kind of trainings? Because I know you did a lot of training, so that anybody who listening will know that, oh, it's not about just wanting to. There's passion, but professionalism and training is important. So what are those things that helped you when it comes to being equipped as a special needs teacher?
Okay, thank you very much. I must have missed that. I first and foremost, I didn't have any training initially, but then when I met Miss Lola Aneke, there's this 12 weeks training. It's just for 3 months, and it's packed, loaded with lots of information about special needs. So instead of traveling to America to go and get it, she brought it down to Nigeria for us. And then I took that 12 weeks training specifically, and that was what helped me the most. And I tell you, I still go back to my training materials. Once I'm stuck, I go back to my training materials to get more information in case I missed something the first time. And I've been on this Telegram group. There's a WhatsApp group that it keeps on giving us more and more and more information. I mean, just on Friday we had a training about executive functioning. I've learned a lot about executive functioning, but that bit that we had on Friday was very new to me, and then it still helped. So this is just like few of the trainings that I have done.
So professional development and trainings, I hear you say, has made you stay on course. Fantastic, fantastic. So we're also talking about let's go to the classroom now because people will think, oh, because Miss Ola is the one hosting this program and she has been trained by Miss Ola, she's just trying to blow the trumpet. Now we want you to tell us what's in. I know you're working in an inclusive school. You're
Hmm.
working in an inclusive school. This is where you need to
Yeah.
show us what you know. Okay. So what had it been in where you are in your school? You don't necessarily have to mention the name of the school you're working with right now. What has this been? What is the success rate of inclusive education? What are you? What is your place? And how do you provide? Okay, for example, if you have a child in your class, I don't know what kind of the kind of because inclusion can be practiced in any way, in different ways, you know.
Hmm.
But what is the strategy being used in your school right now? And how do you come in as a professional? What are the specific things? So I want you to be specific. What role are you
Okay.
playing? And pick a lesson or something and tell us ways you've been able to differentiate, accommodate, and all of that, so that we're not speaking grammar. We are talking about finding out with special needs. And we brought you in as a success story. And what you've done, you said training has helped you. Now you're in a school. What are you doing to ensure that inclusive education thrive in that classroom?
Okay, thank you very much. I shadow children with special needs, like shadowing, like guiding them, being, let's
Tell
talk
us what
about the literal
shadow
meaning.
is.
Like behind them to make sure they are doing what they're supposed to do. Now I'm in a year 3 classroom with a couple of special needs children there that are not really struggling learners, but they are not yet at the same level with their peers. So what I do is, I'm in the classroom with them. I'm not pulling them out for any session. We are in the classroom, and maybe if we have math, and then the math teacher gives examples, I'm sitting on the table with them because we've gone past very frequent prompting. So I just sit on the table to observe what they are
Okay.
doing. So they work on an example, and then, for example, if the classwork is like 5 or 10 questions, I tell my children that, okay, guys, we're going to do 5. If you do 5 and you get all 5 correct, there's no need for us to do the whole 10. And I tell the teachers also that, look, so far they get the concept and they can do 5 independently, then that's fine. Let's leave it like that, because you're not going to bring up 5 of these questions in the exam. It will be 1 or 2. So let's be realistic, and then let us put ourselves in their shoes. Because I have a child that has ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. He can't sit still for very long, and you want him to solve 10 math problems. He's like, Miss Pam, I'm so tired, I'm so hot, I feel like jumping out the window. I'm suffocating. It's like I'm going to die the next minute. And I'm like, okay, don't worry, we'll do 5. And then he does the 5 very well. So once he does that 5 for me, I am good to go, because it's not how far, but then how well he's able to complete the task.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ms. Pamela. I hear you talk about accommodation, all that you're doing now. Accommodation and modification. And some people say, isn't that cheating? Why would the teacher have 10 questions for all the children? And then you say your children do 5. But you answered that question when you were speaking. It's not about how much work. It's what is your objective for that day. If your objective says a child will understand the concept of addition, one digit um one um one digit number and another one digit number, it doesn't, if the child understand that concept, it's not about doing 10 practice. Because some of these children have with issue of special needs, you can never, one size does not fit all. And once you've met one child, even a child with autism, doesn't mean you've met all every child with autism. So thank you for that, because people would have thought, oh, that's cheating. Why would other children do 10? And then this child will do 5. But you have said it that what is your objective? And that's where you come in. So for those listening now thinking, what will be my job if I consider special education or even inclusive education as an educator? Where do I come in? How do I, when they look at it as teaching? And that's one topic that we have been going back and forth on, the issue of accommodation and modification. Some people will say, oh, we'll just modify, or we will accommodate this child during learning, but during exam, we're not going to have that. There's no extended time. I don't want to talk. I want you to talk. What other things do you do in your school to ensure that children have access to curriculum?
Okay, I also work on generalization. So if this child is working very well with me, he might not work very well with another person.
Mhm.
So during some assessments, because if I'm there with the
Give us an
children during
example, please.
assessment, okay, if I'm with my children during an assessment, they know my eyes, they know my kind of prompting, they know what I would take and what I would not take. So I allow another teacher sit with them for that assessment. So you sit with them and let me see how they would work. So if another teacher is sitting with them and they are not doing it well, then I have to go back to my drawing board, because he should be able to relate with other people. The goal here is independence. And then Miss Pam will not be with you all your life. So
Good.
I'm trying to build them to stand and then fly. So I try to allow other teachers work with them, and then I'm not
Fantastic.
always following them to see what they are doing. Like the scaffolding, I guide them, and at some point I pull out my support, and then I see them thrive without me.
Great, great, great. I'm loving all the points you're saying now. Generalization. So, as service providers, as therapists, as support staff, there's something Ms. Pamela just said now. Generalization is very important. If a child can do a one digit, I'm just giving that example, can do addition of two one digit numbers, for you as a therapist, for you as a support staff, for you as a special needs resource person, you must ensure that whether you are there or not, one of your roles is also ensure that the child generalize. So generalization simply means, as Pamela has said, that whatever the child can do, because I'm there, the child should be able to do it at different setting, with or without my presence. So we don't want the children to always be dependent on us. Remember, growth and independence is our point. We want them to be able to stand on their own, and our IEP should say that after 2 months, after a month, we want to be able to assess how far this child can do this thing by him, his or herself. Do you understand? And that's one thing we need to know. Thank you so much for that, Miss Pamela. You also said something about growth. They have to grow. A child cannot remain the way it was with you a month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year. And then you say this child has been on mastering letter A to B for the last 1 year. I've had cases like that. And I'm like, no, go back to your IEP. You need to go back and review it. What are we doing wrongly? What are we not doing right? So that we can make sure we work it out and this child gets the best of access to the curriculum. Thank you. And I like the aspect of scaffolding. You need to pull back. You need to pull back. It's not about you opening. Oh, I've had cases where parents will say, teachers will say, or schools will say, Ashado is not around today, so this child cannot be in class.
Not learn.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't be. One of your objectives, one of your goal as you begin working with that child is that tell yourself, I won't be here forever. Anything can take me away. I might be healed. I might I might have to do one thing or the other with my child. I mean, I might not be around. I might get married. I might travel. I mean, anything can happen to me. What does the future hold for this child without me? So we need to think like that as individuals, even as we're setting the goals and we are preparing the child's IEP. Now, I also have another question for you, Miss Pamela. In your school, I know you have different categories of children. What are the various categories that you cater for in your school? What I know you are a resource person when it comes to children with special needs. Are there other resource persons in your school? What strategy do you use? Do you pull them out? Do you put them in the resource room? We just want to hear from you what strategy you use in your school and the categories of children with special needs that you have. Because we also realize that sometimes some categories have more needs than the other. And how can we provide support for those kind of severe needs or mild needs or moderate needs? So is my question clear?
Yes, I understand. Okay, we have children with autism, we have children with ADHD, we have children with learning disabilities, dyslexia. So for the younger, like the really younger children with autism that are on the severe spectrum, they can't really sit in the regular classroom. So we pull them out. We have the special needs room that is just for them. The walls
The
are
class,
white. There's
yeah.
no there are no lots of distractions there where they can sit and focus. But then we still bring them back into the classroom so they can mingle with their peers. And it's not like, okay, this is my own world of learning. I don't know any other person. We still try to work on social skills. So they get to still swim with other children and go play with other children. But when it comes to learning, so they do not distract the other children, we try to pull them out to the same room where they can do some form of constructive work. And then for learning disability for the older children now, we just have after school, which they call the learning support program, LSP, where
Mhm.
they keep those ones after school. It's for 30 minutes, 1 hour after school, and then they reinforce things that were not fully assimilated during the
What is
class.
reinforcement, please? Because we have people who are listening. We want them to take things away, but we don't want to speak above their head. What is reinforcement, Miss Pam?
Okay, reinforcement is like going over what you've taught that child again. So I've taught them the maybe five states and capitals, and they probably, some of them did not get it. So during our learning support program, I'll bring back the states and capitals, not bringing new ones. The one that was taught in the classroom, I'll
Memory,
bring
yeah.
it back and then show them again to be sure that they learn it. And that's what reinforcement is.
Fantastic. Well done, Miss Pamela. I know that
Thank
this is
you.
doable. I know that they have several discussions on the policy level, on different levels as to what should inclusive education be. And I always say to people, while we're waiting for the appropriate kind of inclusive education, because different countries have different ways that they practice inclusive education. Okay. But once we have the knowledge, we can figure it out from school to school. And but the essence of all of this is so that these children have access to the curriculum. I give it to you. Well done with your school and
Thank
what
you,
you're
ma'am.
doing. There are several ways it can be done, and I've seen. I mean, from what that you've said to me, you have your pull in and pull out. You have your resource classroom. You have your learning support classroom. You have the various students, and you understand what is going on with them, and you're doing great. Thank you. Nothing is too little for our children
Thank
with
you, ma'am.
special needs. We totally appreciate you for that. Now, there's something that you mentioned while you were speaking, and I'd want you to just throw more light on that. And the reason I'm saying to throw more light on that is that I've heard parents say to me, I know that my child cannot learn it, but I want my child to be with other children. Maybe he would learn how to socialize with other children. Should that be the mindset? Because we also have some parents that will say, sometimes like, you cannot learn. What do? We make him beat. Once he's beating, he'll be fine. Once he's beating, he'll be fine. Or some people will say, when the child is humming, or for a child who has sensory processing disorder, you say you tell him to stop it. You stop it, you know. And I'm like, how? This is this person. What things should you do as opposed to saying stop it or giving a negative consequence for that behavior? And that's where knowledge of what the different kind of special needs and disability is. But based on this statement that I said just now, let's just keep him as a classroom teacher. If he's beaten and there's a shadow there, which you've already explained what it is that you do, that's you are not that kind of person. What should it look like for that child? Even if the child is not on the level where the child can learn and is with his neurotypical classmates, what should they be doing? So give an example. If, for example, I want you to give an example that you're comfortable with, but I have been using learning to one digit numbers, addition of one digit number. You can pick one thing. If that child is not on that level and is not doing what the rest should be doing, we talk about UDL in one of the trainings we had on the WhatsApp group. What should the teacher be? What should the teacher be thinking of for that child who is probably um, 8-year-old with a neurotypical mate in primary three, because 8-year-old should be in primary three, and cannot
Mhm.
do the workload of 8-year-old? What should we be doing? Give an example, even if it's just a 1-year-old child. 6-year-old child in primary one, you want to use as an example. What should the teacher be thinking of? If you say we are adding 2-digit number or 1-digit number, but you can pick your example. And then for those parents that think, let him child go for socialization, at least the child is in school, what should be their mindset? How would you want to help them understand what they should be looking out for when they're talking about inclusive education for their child?
Okay. Two things that you've asked now, if I'm clear. Parents
Mhm.
that have the mindset of their children should just be in school. Now, I would liken this to, let's say, baby fishes. I have a very big pond with lots of fishes, big fishes in there. And then I take my baby fish and I throw inside that pond. That fish is going to die inside the pond. So what I would do, what I advise parents to do is, if you have a child that is struggling, please leave the child out of the mainstream school. We have loads of special needs centers here in Abuja. Put that child in a special needs center. Give the child 6 months, 1 year in the special needs center. You'd see improvement. And then put the child back in school and the child will be able to thrive. and he will not seem like, what am I doing here? I do not fit in this place. So I feel that parents should not just leave him there in school. Oh, because someone called me recently and told me that there's a child she has been working with for 4 years, and in school they are not doing anything with the child because the mother said the child should just be in school. So she's paying school fees, wasting her money, and the child is not learning anything in school. So I feel such children that have like are very severe should be pulled out, put where the specialists are, let them take care of that issue, and then you can bring the child back to school with support. That support will be later withdrawn, and then the child can stand on his or her own. Now, to your second question about teachers and then what they should do. Me, I tell teachers that look, if we are doing the whole class is supposed to learn the 36 states and capitals and their slogans. Let's face reality. If I ask you the slogan of Ekiti State now, you tell me that you don't know it. So you don't expect this child that is struggling to now learn the 36 states and capitals. The goal is to learn states and capitals, right? Now my child will do Abia, Umahia, Adamawa, Yola. That is all my child will learn for the term. So, but if he eventually exceeds Abia, Umahia, Adamawa, Yola, I can add one or two more. But he's still doing states and capital, but he's not doing as much as the entire class is doing because of his or her peculiarity. So that is, let me try and break it down. You still do the states and capitals so that your report can still say states and capitals, but then you won't do
Yeah,
the lump sum. Yes.
important, very important. That's what the IEP would say. And of course, doing assessment, will they assess the child based on what everybody has learned or based on what the child has learned?
It should be assessed on based on what the child has learned.
Fantastic, fantastic. Miss Pamela, I am overwhelmed as to all that you said to us. And I don't want us to over we don't want to put too much information on because there's so much you've learned, you've said to us today. And I want us all to take it in as teachers, as parents, as service providers. Miss Pamela has said quite a lot, and I'm so thankful to everyone who had commented and for this transcribing of what you've said. I would want also to go back and take this in. Check yourself as a teacher. Assess yourself and say, how am I doing based on this discussion that we had today? As a parent, what am I doing to ensure that my child get access to the curriculum? Miss Pamela, I want to thank you so much for your time. But before you go,
Thank you, ma'am.
one word, like I always do, one word to a parent, a teacher, or anyone who is living with a child with special needs, educating a child with special needs, a family member, what do you have to say to us to encourage us today?
Okay, what I'd like to say and what has worked for me is love that child. Once you love the child, you can do anything, and that child will do anything just to see you happy. Love, love, love the child. Love the child with all of your heart. Put your whole mind into what you're doing. Don't do it like Ms. Lola will say, customer come, customer no come, Oga will pay my salary. No, don't have that mindset. Have the mindset that I want to see this child grow. So just love the child first, and every other thing will just work. That's what has worked for me.
Hmm. Thank you. And that's professionalism. I mean, that for me, that's professionalism. You have fidelity to the practice. What did I say I'm going to do? What does the IEP says? And then you do it. Thank you so much, Miss Pamela. I totally appreciate your
Thank you,
time. I
Miss
hope when we
Lola.
talk to you again, you would oblige us your presence. You know what? We're going to
Definitely.
give you a command. We're going to give you a command. We'll summon you like the president summons people on the cabinet. Okay? So because you have a lot. For me, you've done so well. And we're happy to learn from you today. And we look forward to having you some other time. Thank you so much for your time. I'll let you
Thank
go
you,
now.
ma'am.
Hold
Okay.
on. Before you go, I'll give like 2 more minutes because we have barely 3 minutes to go off right now. Does anyone have any question for Miss Pamela? Does anyone have any question? Ms. Pamela, could you we want to know your Facebook, your social media handle? Because some people are looking at they might want to have one discussion with you based on what you've said and how you've been able to grow in the last 7 years. Would you mind us sharing your contact with the public or not?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Because there's something about mentorship. Last week I think we ended with mentorship. You've done well, but the only way that you can keep this going is to ensure that you pick somebody else and make sure you also put them in the right direction. So we are glad would have your Facebook and Instagram handle so that they can reach out to you, and then they would ask personal questions if they want to when it comes to issue of special needs education and some of the things we've discussed today. So
Okay.
I know your Facebook handle or name is called Pamela Augustine, right? Just as the name
Yes.
is Pamela, just Google Pamela Augustine, and then you can also send an inbox messages. But are there any questions? Any question before we call it a day today for Miss Pamela? One question from the audience, from people listening. Any question for Miss Pamela, please? Okay. In the absence of any question, let me see. Thank you, everyone. Please, any question? She needs to go now. Any question? Okay, Miss Pamela. Whenever people do ask questions, I know for me, you've done justice to the topic. So well done, well done, well done. We're super
Thank you,
proud of
ma'am.
you. Keep up the good work, and we look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
you very soon on this show. Thank you, Miss
Thank you,
Pamela.
mama.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
let you
ma'am.
go now. So that is it for today, everyone. We want to thank you so much for joining in. There's so much we can do together in ensuring that every child, particularly children with special needs, have access to the curriculum. There's so much you can learn when it comes to inclusive education. Every child has a right to education. Join us next week, same time, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We'll also give that information, the link right down on Facebook, so that whenever you go back to read or to look at what the comments are, you find that there. You also get the link to the various support group we have on Telegram and on WhatsApp, so that we can all learn together and make the world a better place for children with special needs. Thank you, everyone who has joined in. You're too numerous to mention it, but I want you to know that I appreciate you. For those on the different platform we are viewing this on as a watch party, I want to truly appreciate you for joining in. And we are still open to questions. You can leave your questions on the question comment, and we're more than happy to answer your questions. We have to ensure that every child learn, and every child with special needs is included and have access to the curriculum. Thank you, everyone, and I'll join you again next week. I remain Lola Aneke. Thank you, and bye-bye.